Hello, everybody. This is Wednesday, July the 15th, and you have joined the Plexus Team Heather Rice weekly call. Tonight, we are going to be talking about a topic that's near and dear to my heart because I've kind of been doing some self-evaluation that I believe everybody at some point has struggled with this. And so as I started looking at it for myself, I started thinking, you know what? This might be some great information that we can share together. And so that's kind of how this came about. And so our topic tonight is going to be called Beyond Belief and how to see beyond the self-limitations that we put on ourselves towards success. Let me check here and mute one of the people that is not muted. Bear with me here. Becky Kolbenschlack, can you please see if you can mute yourself? Because it's not letting me. Marianne, can you mute yourself too? I'm just trying to make it easier for all of us to hear. And for some reason, it's not allowing me mute audio. Let me try that. Okay, let me see this one. I don't know why it's not letting me mute Becky. Weird. Okay. All right, well, let's not get diverted. Let me say a quick prayer, and then we'll begin. Dear Jesus, thank you for this time. Thank you for this business, and thank you for those who have joined us tonight. We have some new people tonight, and we are so thankful to have them here on this call with us. And we hope that you give us a mind to retain the information that I'm going to share tonight, Lord. And I just thank you for all of us working together as a team for one common goal, and that is to help people live healthier and happier lives. We thank you for the blessing of Plexus and the gift that we have, and give us the confidence to share it boldly. Thank you, and we ask this in your precious heavenly name. Amen. All right, guys, here we go. So I have a lot of notes that I have written, so you're going to see me look down frequently, but I'm going to try to keep things flowing so that it doesn't look like I'm reading notes because I want it to be conversational somewhat. But you guys are muted until the end, and then I will go ahead and unmute you. And then we will do a contest drawing, and then we will, I will stay online and end the recording. Anyone that would like to stay on after and ask any questions, whether it be on the topic we discussed tonight or some other topic, we are available for that as well. So let me get started. And like I said, in doing some self-evaluation, I started realizing that possibly this topic might be something that you guys have struggled with as well. And so I wanted to start out by talking about how everybody needs to have their why. And the why that you have should really reach deep down in your heart. It should be something that really kind of could make you cry. It's that deep. And so this should be our non-wavering reason for why we choose to do Plexus. It should be the reason that propels us forward on a daily basis. And it should be what makes us stay focused on income-producing behaviors as we go about our day, as we grow our team, as we deal with customers. So this takes me to the point of if we know our why, then we can choose and say, let's make our whys into why nots. So I want to cover a couple things tonight. I want to throw some things out there for you guys to kind of meditate on and just process as I'm saying these things, because these could be some things that could prompt you to have a certain why. I'm going to talk about some of those things now. What if you could have better health? How would you feel if you had more energy to do things that you cannot currently do right now? Does the idea of being able to get off some medication sound appealing? What if you've taken sleeping medications for a very long time just to be able to sleep, and now because of Plexus, you no longer have to take those medicines at all and you can go right to sleep? How would you boost your self-confidence if you knew that the outfit that's been hanging in your closet for 2 years suddenly fits you? How awesome would that be? What if you could pass every single plate of cookies and brownies that you passed because you no longer had the sweet tooth craving? That would be awesome. What if you had a car accident 15 years ago and you had chronic pain from that? And what if because of Plexus that was gone? That would be a huge thing for somebody who has suffered from chronic pain. What if somebody in your life, somebody that you love, what if their life was actually dependent on getting healthier? What would that mean to you? What would it feel like if you had enough cash every single month to either pay down a debt or have enough left over to cover your monthly bills? How would you feel if Plexus allowed someone to tell you that you have changed their life forever? How would that feel for you? What would you do if you were able to quit your corporate job and do Plexus full-time? That's a very real possibility for a lot of people. How about this? Does missing your kids' events at school, maybe it's a school party or an after-school event, a soccer game, choir concert, what about that sounds maybe depressing to you? Does that sound depressing to not be able to be involved in those things? What if you were able to take a family vacation and you were able to pay cash for the entire vacation? That means wherever your destination was, any souvenirs, airline tickets, that's huge. What if you just want to provide a better life? Maybe for you, your kids, maybe you're a single mom. Maybe you're a single dad and you want to make this difference for your child. Does the thought of answering to a boss for the rest of your life sound appealing to you? Someone that tells you when to be there, when to leave, when to take your 30-minute lunch? What would it look like to you to be able to tithe more to your place of worship? Are you passionate about being debt-free? There are some people that really are, and that's a goal, and Dave Ramsey is a good program to get there. But that might be something that you look forward to. Maybe you want to build a pool in your backyard. What would it feel like for you if you had your car sitting in the garage and it was paid off? That would be a really good feeling. What if you were able to see some family members get off some medications that you've seen them be on for a long, long time? Now, this is a big one, and this is kind of one of the things that I see as a goal for myself, and that is, what if your child's college tuition could be paid for all 4 years up front in cash? How freeing would that be? What if you wanted to max out your 401k at work, but you don't have any extra cash to do that? Does a life of freedom from having to live paycheck to paycheck sound appealing to you? It does to me. How would you like to be able to send your kids away to summer camp and be able to pay cash and not have to put it on a credit card? You know what? This is one of the things that I like to do because I'm a giver. How rewarding would it be for you if you were able to pay for somebody's groceries at the grocery store that might be ahead of you and you can tell there's a need? That'd be very, very rewarding. Well, here's the thing. The reason why I read these things is because when we think about these things, it gets easier to come up with our why. And once we have established our why, then we can be intentional about what we choose to talk about, what we choose to spend our time on, what we choose to even think about. And those thought processes need to be about income-producing behaviors. And we need to partake of those things that way. And if we are going along and we are recognizing that maybe we've kind of hit a wall and maybe we need to know when it's time to redirect ourselves to focus back again on income-producing behaviors, this is something that we are going to discuss tonight. So I want you to think about this. All of our thought processes and the ways that we communicate with people, the way that we actually take in information, the way we output information and the way that we process information, those are all based on our belief systems. I don't know if you've ever thought of that before, but as I was kind of doing some studying, I was realizing that really is true. And so there are so many beliefs that we have in our life, and so many of those can be a self-limiting belief. We can have positive beliefs about our life and ourselves, and we also can have beliefs that inhibit our ability to see our world with a real clear focus or maybe a clear reality. And so whenever we can't see the world in a clear way, because of our belief systems may have filtered that in a certain way, then this is going to inhibit our ability to process information in a productive way. So let me kind of give some examples here so that you guys are following me and can understand where I'm going with this. Let's just say limited beliefs tend to filter our reality in such a way that we see the reality of what's going on around us in a different way than others might. And that's because we have different beliefs than other people do. So this is how we can have a situation viewed by everyone, but everybody has a different reality. So so you can take the same situation and you can show it to 10 people, and you're going to have 10 different realities of the way that situation happened. So you could think maybe something that you say is funny, for instance, like you think it's pretty hilarious. But to somebody else, their view of that could be totally, completely depressing. And so the reason why we form these beliefs is because they simplify our lives. And an example of that, for instance, is let's say you touch a hot stove and you burn your fingers, okay? So the next time that you see a stove that's hot, you are not going to touch it because you believe you're going to get burned if you touch it. This is going to be an example of a positive belief, okay? And it's a belief that simplifies our lives and protects us because we learn don't touch the stove or you're going to get burned. However, we can get into believing limited beliefs about our life, about ourselves, and when that happens, we lose the richness to our life because we are not able to actually perceive it correctly. It's skewed or filtered by the beliefs that we have. So let's just say, for instance, you were in a relationship in the past and you were hurt in that relationship. And so you start to think, well, you know what? All guys and girls are just the same. So if you believe this, if this is your belief that all guys and all girls are just the same because you've been hurt by one of them, then this belief is not going to allow you to see men and women that do not fit into your belief system. I hope that makes sense to you guys. Shake your head if that makes sense. Okay, good, we're tracking. So people then mistakenly look at the world and they think that it's, for them, the real world, okay? But the limited beliefs that they have are coloring their life in a way that is only true for them. And so this makes it very hard for them to understand, makes it hard for me to understand that the life that I am perceiving is only because of my limited belief. So you're probably asking, well, okay, Heather, how do I recognize or even determine when I'm having limited beliefs? If this is something that's going to deter me from being successful, then of course I'm probably going to need to address it. So let me just throw some other things out there. Ways that we can notice when we are having negative beliefs and that are limiting us in moving forward with something. So when we catch ourselves saying phrases, little things like this, like life is blank. Maybe you say life's not easy. That's a limiting belief. Or how about, I am a blank person. You could say, well, I'm an impatient person, so these people are just going to have to understand. That is a limiting belief that you have of yourself. How about earning money is blank? Maybe it's hard. Maybe it's something that you think, oh, I'm not very good at. That's a limited belief. How about this one? I can't do this because blank. This one, it falls in my wheelhouse. Mine would be, I can't do this because I didn't finish college. So we find ourselves repeating the same kind of phrases, and when we do that, we need to realize that those phrases that we repeat on a constant basis are actually a belief that we have. So if the phrase is positive, such as, I am so blessed, well, then that is a positive belief that we need to keep repeating because it's serving us well. However, when we end up repeating disempowering or negative thoughts to ourselves on a consistent basis, maybe it's I'm a loser, or excuse me, I'm never going to make it to silver or gold or diamonds, maybe you say, well, I don't really know how to build a team, or, nobody's going to listen to me, so I'm probably not going to be able to do this job. Or maybe it's, I've never hosted an opportunity meeting. No one's trained me on that. I don't think I'll be able to do it. How about this one? I hear this one a lot. I'm really shy, and I don't know enough people to do this. And you seem to have a lot of friends, Heather, and so that's probably why you've been able to be successful at this. So there's so many things that we tell ourselves, kind of negative tapes that we've played over and over in our head, and these things inhibit us from being our best. And I believe they inhibit us from being the best that God wants us to be. So in order for us to move forward, we actually have to change these beliefs that we have about ourselves. And if we're going to succeed, and it doesn't have to be just in business, it can be in life, it can be in relationships, marriages, with your children, we have to change these beliefs. So ways that we can do this are, we need to take a good look and understand that every opinion and way that we see the world, like I said, is based on our belief. Some belief, whether it's a positive or a negative belief. If we don't like something, well, that's based on a belief too. There's something deep down in us that gives us the feeling of, there's a reason why I don't inherently like this or believe in this. If it's something that we find depressing, well, that's our belief too. So it's hard sometimes for us to discover some of our limiting beliefs, because a lot of them we have carried around with us since we were of young age, maybe a child. Some of our beliefs were taken from our parents. Hold on just a minute, let me get a drink. Maybe these things that we think about ourselves or play in our head, these tapes over and over and over, were things that maybe our parents told us, and they no longer serve us well. And so, but the thing is that no matter how much we try to run from these things, the filter of the belief keeps playing through. Let me say this a different way. When those beliefs no longer serve us, they keep filtering our experience their own way because we fail to notice and eliminate them. Sorry, that was a little long. So for instance, I'm going to give you an example of this. Say that you grew up in a household where you were never allowed to fail at anything. And so if you messed up or you broke something or you spilled something, you might have grown up with the limited belief that you and everyone around you expected you to be perfect all the time, had to be perfect. And so we all know that nobody's perfect all the time. And so if you screwed up, you were viewed as a failure. And so you carry this belief of failure to adulthood, and you may have expectations for yourself and other people that never actually get met because nobody's perfect. But in your book, imperfection equals failure. So this causes us to continue going on the same path. We have ongoing frustration because of it, because of the limited belief we had. So how do we get from the limited belief to analyzing it to moving beyond it so that we can succeed? Well, what we see, how we see these limiting beliefs is going to do us well to examine because it affects every area of our life. So as it doesn't matter how long we have held these beliefs, as long as we're willing to look at them, we can always eliminate a self-limiting belief. So you guys, this is one of those things that we have to really uncover. And when we eliminate the negative beliefs about ourselves and about others, we have to do this kind of on an incremental basis. And we have to really kind of take our thoughts captive every day. Sometimes for me, it's like a minute by minute struggle. Sometimes it's second by second struggle in taking the thoughts captive that come into my mind. And what we think about and the thoughts, if they're negative thoughts or positive thoughts, we're going to project however we respond is going to be a projection of how we have viewed these things. So it's like the old saying, garbage in, garbage out. You guys have heard that one before. We have to ask ourselves basically, why do I see this thing, this thought, this action in a negative light? Why do I do this? What is it about it that compels me to think on a negative plane about this stuff? And so whenever we are able to actually pinpoint, which sometimes takes a little bit of self-reflection, and that's not always fun, we have to ask ourselves those specific things. You know, why do I believe this? When we get to the answer, you guys, this is when we're going to uncover our belief, okay? And so let me share with you guys, like I told you, I was doing my own self-evaluation, and I really started to think about this self-limiting belief that I have had for a very long time. I struggled with this for a very long time, and it is this. I never finished college, and I hated it. I dropped out. I did it 2 years. I really only was going there because some of my friends were going there. Had no idea what I wanted to do, but I never finished college, and I never got a degree. And I had this limited belief of myself that I would never, ever in the workforce make more than $30,000 a year. And so why and how I came up with this number in my head, I really don't know, other than it was based on my belief that I had to be a college graduate to be able to succeed and make what I thought $30,000 a year. Delena's laughing at me. Salary. And so once I started thinking about why I thought this, I really kind of dug down and realized that I grew up kind of hearing that in order to get a good paying job, you had to go to college. And because I didn't, and I was without a degree, I thought, I'm not going to make very much money. And for some reason, that $30,000 a year number was a number that I had actually created for myself. And it was actually limiting my ability, or really kind of filter my reality, so to speak, from seeing beyond that dollar amount that I could make annually to what I was really capable of achieving. And so I want you guys to think with me some areas that you struggle with, areas where you have limited beliefs about yourself, about your ability to be a business owner, lead a team, be a good friend. What are some of the limited beliefs that you have? I want you to think about these things. And I want you to think about, what did your parents used to say to you about these things? For the areas that you're struggling in, think about what your parents told you about that area. For example, if you are somebody that has a difficulty handling your money, maybe your parents used to tell you, money is really hard to earn, money doesn't grow on trees, you're not going to be able to afford that. Those are things that we have been told, and those are things that we start, when you hear it long enough, you have the tendency to start believing, well, you know what, this is probably really true. And so that limits us and makes us not be able to see beyond that limitation. And so it may take us some time to uncover these limited beliefs about ourselves, but the qualities of our lives, y'all, is really dependent on us doing this. It's dependent on us being proactive. It's dependent on us taking the time to uncover and really eliminate those things that are inhibiting us, and in the ways that we are relating to people, our thought patterns, and it will help greatly improve our life experience. So here's what I want you guys to do when we're away from the call. But once you uncover some of the things that you personally struggle with as your self-belief, your limiting self-belief, I want you to write these things down on a sheet of paper so you can visually see these. And you can go back and look at them at another time when you've actually gotten beyond it. And you can look back and say, wow, look how far I've come. That's so encouraging when you can do that. So when you write these down, then I want you to read them to yourself. I want you to read them out loud. Because when we put a voice to something, it really makes it real. And so when you're reading these things out loud to yourself, these limited beliefs that you have in place, and if you get a negative feeling really deep down in your gut while you're reading these things out loud to yourself, that means you have just uncovered an active, limited belief. And this thing is adversely affecting your life. And so that's the way we kind of pull away like pieces of, like an onion. You know, you're peeling away the pieces. You're trying to get down to the sole reason why you do something or behave a certain way. So when you're writing and you're reading these limited beliefs to yourself, since we talked about before, maybe some of these things that you believe come from the past, come from a parent, an aunt, an uncle, a teacher, somebody that you looked up to guide you. I want you to look at that and realize that you are no longer that child anymore. And so you have free will, and you have the power to choose whether you want to hang on to that belief or whether you want to eliminate that belief. And so it's really up to us to be able to do this. So what I say is you just basically simply say to yourself that you're no longer going to choose to believe in what you had believed in the past that was not true. And so how you're going to do that is you're going to look for evidence that shows that the contrary to the belief that you believed is true. So I hope that makes sense. For me, that meant taking my self-limiting belief that I would never make more than $30,000 a year and say, this isn't the truth. I am a good person. I am very skilled. I am a great people person. I love to help other people. And just because I don't have a college degree and I didn't see college all the way through, that does not mean that I'm incapable of achieving beyond $30,000 a year. And so this is the evidence that shows that my limiting belief was untrue for all the reasons that I listed. So when my thought process wasn't focused on the I can't and the all nevers, I had the freedom to achieve what I once thought never would be possible. And so with Plexus, I have been so blessed to go way beyond that limited belief of $30,000 a year threshold that I'd set for myself by like 4.5 times more a year. And so the lesson for me is that I had to have faith that the opposite belief of what I'd originally confined myself was true. What I'd originally confined myself to was true. And this realization has colored my life. My experience is much richer than it would have been if I had stuck to that previous belief of you're never going to make more than X amount. So my original belief was that it was impossible for me to earn $30,000 a year. So now the way that I approach it is I affirm that it's easy for me to earn $30,000 a year. And whenever I get a larger paycheck now, I can look at it differently and look at it so much differently than I used to. And I'm affirming this because that is the evidence of my new belief. Y'all see where I'm coming from? Shake your heads. Okay, good. All right, so let's keep in mind that when we are believing something to be true because of the facts that seem to support these beliefs. So for instance, if you are one of those people that says, you know what, I'm just really unlucky. I'm an unlucky person. What you're going to do is you're going to look for facts and you're going to look for situations that are going to support this belief that you have that you're unlucky. You're going to try to prove to yourself that you're unlucky. And so by doing this, you're going to miss out, y'all. Miss out on the facts that show that this isn't even the case. And so if you believe that you're unlucky, you'll only see those facts that support the belief that you're unlucky. So to change your beliefs, you have to open up your mind and start searching for those facts that deny them. So if you have some kind of limiting belief about yourself that was transferred to you from a parent or what have you, do not blame them for it because they just did the best job they could with what they had and what they felt was going to be best for you. And that you really are the one that's responsible for who you are today. So the great part of this, and this is the good news, the great part of this is that you and I get the power to choose our own beliefs about ourselves and our own beliefs about other people. We get to choose how we will respond to things, how we will behave in certain situations. You are responsible only for yourself. How many times have we told that to our kiddos? You don't care what they're doing. You're only responsible for yourself. And you're responsible for the person that you're becoming and the person that you've become. So if you give that responsibility away to somebody else, then you're going to lose the power to change your own life. This is huge, guys, because once you are able to release the beliefs that have limited you along the way in life, those tapes that you've replayed over and over in your head, that is going to be where true freedom is found for us, okay? And this is what's going to make it to where our life completely shifts in an entirely different direction. And you can see how it will shift because you have shifted your thinking about things. You have shifted the way you perceive things. You have shifted the way you are going to go forward and how you're going to react to things. And so we have to stop replaying these old tapes in our heads. And I think that everybody struggles with this in some way, shape, or form. In some part of our life, we have had tapes that we've replayed in our head over and over. And so my goal tonight with this meeting was just to throw these things out there so that you guys can do some self-evaluation and really start to look at what are these beliefs that are limiting me and how much limitation have I had that I didn't even realize. And so that is what our meeting is about tonight. And so I am going to actually close the meeting. Then I'm going to hit stop on the record button. But I would like for you guys to stay on because I have a fun drawing to do. If you will be getting a sheet of paper out and a pen or pencil because you're going to need this for this little contest that we're going to do. So grab that. I'm going to stop the recording. Thank you guys for joining us tonight, and good night.